It started as just another night of online gaming. Then suddenly, millions were locked out. In April 2011, a hidden breach exposed personal information from 77 million PlayStation Network accounts. Names, addresses, passwords. The scale shocked the world, but the true fallout went far beyond lost matches. How did one platform's failure rewrite the rules of digital trust forever? When Sony launched the PlayStation Network in 2006, online gaming was still finding its footing. Over the next 5 years, the PlayStation Network transformed from a simple service into the digital backbone of the PlayStation experience. By 2011, tens of millions of players around the world depended on it, not just for playing with friends, but for every part of their gaming lives. Multiplayer battles, downloadable games, movie rentals, software updates, messaging, and digital trophies all ran through the same network. Buying a new release no longer meant a trip to the store. It was a few clicks away from any living room. Friends lists and chat features created a sense of community that stretched across continents. The PlayStation Network's reach extended far beyond games. Players stored payment details, set up recurring subscriptions, and shared personal information to access new features. With each passing year, more of the PlayStation ecosystem moved online. By early 2011, the PlayStation Network boasted over 70 million registered accounts. For many, it had become as essential as their console itself. This digital world promised instant connection and endless entertainment. But as millions logged in daily, few paused to consider how much trust they placed in the invisible systems behind the screen. Every purchase, every message, every saved password depended on a network most users never saw. In the spring of 2011, that trust would face an unprecedented test. Between April 17th and April 19th, 2011, a quiet but devastating attack unfolded deep inside Sony's digital infrastructure. Hackers slipped past the company's defenses, gaining access to the PlayStation Network's core databases. For 3 days, they moved undetected, retrieving vast amounts of data from user accounts. The compromise was not limited to a handful of records or a single server. It swept up the personal information of nearly 77 million people, one of the largest breaches ever recorded in the gaming world. Names, home addresses, and email accounts were all copied. Birth dates, usernames, and login passwords, details that could unlock not just PlayStation profiles, but personal lives, were pulled from the network's storage. Forensic teams would later confirm that entire tables of sensitive data had been accessed. In some cases, security questions and answers used to reset passwords were also exposed. The attackers did not need to break open a vault. Much of the information was left unencrypted, ready to be read by anyone who found a way inside. Investigators pieced together the timeline after the fact. The breach began on April 17, 2011. By April 19, 2011, signs of unauthorized activity began to surface, but by then the damage was already done. The scale of the theft was staggering, not just in numbers, but in the kind of data taken. The attackers vanished without immediate detection, leaving behind a network compromised at its core and millions of users unknowingly exposed. On April 20, 2011, PlayStation Network users around the globe woke up to a silent blackout. The service that had become a daily ritual, connecting friends, fueling late-night matches, and delivering digital purchases, was suddenly unreachable. Sony's official message was brief and cryptic. Certain functions of PlayStation Network were down, and updates would follow. There was no mention of a breach, and no hint at the scale of the problem. For millions, the outage felt like a technical hiccup at first. Gamers refreshed status pages, checked forums, and waited for a routine fix. But hours turned into days. Online matches vanished. Download queues froze. Friends lists and chat features went dark. Digital storefronts, so central to the PlayStation experience, were locked behind error screens. As frustration mounted, Sony's statements remained vague. On April 21, 2011, the company suggested the outage could last a full day or two, but gave no clear explanation. In Europe, a blog post hinted at an outside attack, only to be taken down soon after. The silence fed rumors and anxiety. For nearly 3 weeks, the blackout dragged on. 23 days without online play, purchases, or basic account access. For many, it was the longest disruption they had ever experienced in gaming. The outage did not just pause entertainment. It interrupted friendships, tournaments, and even small businesses built around PlayStation's digital world. The sense of community that PlayStation Network had created now felt fragile, and the trust in Sony's invisible systems began to erode with each passing day. Anger swept through the PlayStation community as days of silence stretched on. Gamers flooded forums and social media, demanding answers that never seemed to come. The outage was frustrating, but the real outrage began when users realized their personal information, names, addresses, emails, even passwords, had been exposed for days before Sony said a word. The sense of betrayal was immediate and widespread. Many felt abandoned by a company they trusted with their digital lives. Consumer groups issued urgent advisories, warning PlayStation owners to check bank accounts and to change passwords on every service that used the same credentials. Security experts criticized Sony's delayed disclosure, calling it a textbook case of corporate mishandling. The company's 7-day gap between detecting the breach and informing the public became a lightning rod for criticism. Headlines accused Sony of putting millions at risk, prioritizing its reputation over user safety. Governments soon stepped in. Regulators in the United States, United Kingdom, and Japan each launched official investigations into Sony's handling of the breach. Lawmakers demanded to know why it took so long to notify the public and whether Sony had met legal requirements for data breach disclosure. In courtrooms from California to Europe, class action lawsuits began to pile up. Plaintiffs accused Sony of negligence, citing outdated security practices and the lack of encryption on sensitive data. The legal and regulatory heat was immediate, and Sony faced not just the anger of gamers, but the full scrutiny of governments and the courts. The fallout was only beginning. Sony's financial teams faced a staggering calculation in the aftermath. The projected cost of the PlayStation Network breach reached over $170 million, a figure that shook the company at every level. That estimate covered far more than technical repairs. It included legal fees from mounting lawsuits, regulatory fines imposed by government agencies, and the cost of hiring outside cybersecurity firms to investigate the attack. Customer compensation added another layer, as Sony prepared to offer free games, subscriptions, and identity theft protection to millions of affected users. Lost revenue from the 23-day outage piled up, and marketing budgets swelled to address the damage to Sony's brand. In boardrooms and earnings calls, the breach was now measured not just in lost data, but in dollars and trust. It cast a long shadow over Sony's position in the gaming world. Security analysts combed through the aftermath and found a troubling pattern. Sensitive user data, names, addresses, emails, even passwords, had been stored without encryption. Once inside, the attackers did not have to crack codes or bypass sophisticated locks. The information was simply there, readable, and ready to be taken. The network's outer defenses, meant to keep intruders out, were outdated or poorly maintained. Firewalls that should have blocked unauthorized access were either misconfigured or not up to modern standards. Monitoring systems failed to spot the intrusion in real time, allowing hackers to move freely for days. Internal logs that might have revealed the attack were incomplete or missing, making it hard to track exactly how much was lost. Each failure added up, revealing a system that was vulnerable at almost every level. Today, nearly every online platform holds sensitive data once considered safe. As digital lives expand, the real threat isn't just hackers, it is complacency. The PlayStation Network breach forced an industry reckoning, but the next wake-up call may be just a click away. Stay vigilant. Your data is never just game data.